I'm joined at Brooklands today by a very special car and a very special person.
Oh, you're too kind.
Sir Gerald Atcher, who has been chairman of the trustees at Brooklands for 9 years and is now stepped down, but is our president still.
That's right.
So you will still remain involved with Brooklands.
Yes.
Which is fantastic news.
Well, I think it's a win-win situation. Brooklands is like a giant octopus with tentacles,
yes.
And once it's got a tentacle round you, there is just no way of escaping.
No, I came here to do a talk 3 years ago and was never allowed to leave.
Well,
I'm still here.
That's exactly the situation.
But however, Gerry, having been our chairman here for 9 years, I first met you in Bhutan.
That's right, and I still have.
This car
where is
with
the
your
Bhutan?
lovely wife, Joyce.
That's right. Somewhere there is the Bhutan Rally on here.
Where
is it? That's the Maharaja one. Some of these.
I was going to ask you about these.
Here we are. The Thunder Dragon Rally, November 2015.
And
That's
where
right.
did we go on this rally?
Well, we had a wonderful time. We started off in West Bengal. We went up to Darjeeling, which was great fun. And from Darjeeling, we went into Bhutan, starting off at the west, and then making our way all the way over to the east. And that was really fantastic because tourists don't normally go into the eastern part of Bhutan. No. And indeed, it was the first rally of old cars in Bhutan. Bhutan's only had cars since about year 2000. And to see old cars, they were totally perplexed. You know, why would you not have a roof on a car? They could not understand why you have open-air cars.
To be fair, they didn't seem to have had roads for that long either, did they?
No, they didn't. In fact, the roads were a little worrying. As you will recall, we had significant drops all the way through the rally.
Oh, yes.
And one of the benefits of the rally was we had some wonderful Australians, and you always want an Australian on a rally. And their car, I don't know how original it was. I don't
Max
think it
and
was.
Penny, yes.
Yeah, I don't think it was too. Anyway,
Max and Penny's Vauxhall.
That's right. Anyway, got chatting to them after the drop that day had been pretty solid, and it's at lunchtime. And we're getting back into the cars, and I said to them, I think we're going to have pretty exposed driving for the rest of the day. And said to me as quick as a flash, Gerry, I wouldn't worry if you go over the edge. I said, well, what do you mean you wouldn't worry? He said, well, it's so far down, you'll have plenty of time to phone the kids and tell them what's going on.
So where else have you been in this car?
So I originally bought it for the Peking Paris Rally in 2007, which was the 100th anniversary of the 1907 race. And this was going to be run through China, the Gobi Desert, Mongolia, and up through Siberia. And this was just the most wonderful car for it. Yes, well, our shock absorber mountings would forever get metal fatigue. And I could find an arc welder in the middle of the Gobi Desert in about 10 minutes, find a little village, and I can smell out arc welders. I'm really practiced at it. And, a desert is the most fantastic place. It really is. And the people who live in the little villages are just absolutely wonderful.
So Peking Paris, you've done the Peking Paris twice?
Yes, I did it in the first rally in 1997 to celebrate the 90th anniversary. I did that in a 1932 Aston Martin International, little 1.5 litre car. And that was over the Himalayas. And so that was also quite a challenge, a very different challenge. I mean, this car is just as solid as anything. Nothing will ever stop you. But the Aston needed a lot of care and attention to keep it going. But we kept it going, and we won the Spirit of the Rally Award for keeping it going. So,
did you have many problems with this car when you were doing it?
We tried to keep the car as original as possible when we were preparing it for the rally. We noticed that there was a forward modification on the engine mountings because with a 4-cylinder engine and this powerful, you get a lot of vibration, particularly with an unbalanced crankshaft, because they were unbalanced in those days. And so they made this modification of a spring-loaded front engine mounting to take some of the vibration away. And I said to my fellow preparing the car, I said, let's get rid of that and go back to original. And he said, no, it looks in perfect condition. The first night in the Gobi Desert, the engine mounting collapsed and the engine tipped forward onto the front member, and we thought that was the end of our rally on the first day in the desert. And a couple coming in a Ford V8 Pilot saw us stuck and came over to us and said, "What's the problem?" I said, "The engine's tipped over, the mounting has gone." And I said, "There's nothing we can do about it. We can't jack up the engine. We'll just go through the sump." He said, "What you need is 2 high-lift jacks." I said, "Yes, but we don't have 2 high-lift jacks." He said, "But we do." So he got their high-lift jacks, and we put some webbing underneath to try and lift the engine, but they were unstable. And he said to me, "Gerry, go out into the desert and get a piece of metal, will you, so we can tie up the ends of the jacks." So I went out into the desert. The Sandstorm was now in full flood. And do you know how long it took me to find a piece of metal?
How long?
Less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
Came back with a piece of metal. We, with some more webbing, got it to stabilise the 2 jacks, lifted up the engine, and we put a little piece of aluminium underneath it, dropped the engine back on it. And he said, "That'll get you to the next checkpoint." It's still in there now today.
Wow.
Haven't touched it. And
Brilliant.
That's Model A Fords for you.
Brilliant.
And
Did the Sandstorm cause you any problems?
well, if you come round, I'll show you why it didn't.
Because I was caught in a sandstorm in the Sahara in a 1972 Beetle, and we found it blocked up our starter motor, and our drum brakes got full of sand. But once we were out in, we just had to bump start a few times, and then once we were out onto the
we've got this
the roads, the sand all worked its way out.
Air filter for the carburetor here, and we would clean that up every single evening. We'd get the sand out of it. And at the same time, we'd check over the brakes as well and do complete spanner checks. And so the secret is just regular spanner checks and regular checks of everything. As I said, we did it every single day in the desert. And part of the time, we were doing it at lunchtime as well. And that is the secret. And, you've got to be so careful. I mean, the other thing with Mongolia is you're crossing many rivers. Now, there's a secret about crossing rivers. You never go first. You wait for somebody else to go across the river first.
Yeah, I've been there.
And if have you, and if they get through, you go on their thing. But the problem with going through rivers is you can get water through the breather tube into the rear axle. And often the oil in the rear axle looks after the half shafts as well. And so, again, if you don't change your rear axle oil as soon as you finish with rivers, you're going to not finish that rally.
Yes, on Long Way Round, Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman, when they went across Mongolia in their motorbikes, and they got to a river that was too deep to pass. We got to that same river. We got towed through it by some help from Mongolians with a truck. So they towed us through with the engine not running. We got through that way.
Yes.
But yes, definitely a
so,
hazard.
So rivers you've got to take seriously. Yeah. And of course you've got a Beetle. There's a big problem with Beetles in rivers. You've got to open the doors. Otherwise you go floating downstream. No, seriously. Seriously.
They're watertight. They're known for floating.
Yeah.
But I mean, the problem I had with that one, fording a river in Pakistan, was I caught the sump guard on something underwater and it bent it backwards underneath the car. So I limped up the other bank with it dragging underneath. It's very helpful. Locals helped me sort it all out and bend it back into shape and put it back on. What I didn't realise is I'd cracked the sump on something in the river. So from then on, the oil leak got progressively worse till I arrived in Singapore, topping it up every 20 minutes.
Gosh, no. And you couldn't put plastic metal on it or anything?
No. Well, I didn't realise what the problem was. I was getting oil seals replaced and things and didn't realise until I got home and had the block tested. That was the problem, So I see you've got the Maharaja Marathon sticker there as well.
That's right. That was the last one we did through Rajasthan in 4 years ago, just as COVID was hitting.
Right.
And since then, this car has been in the corner of the garage, and I got it out yesterday afternoon and brought it down here today. And so it's
very lovely to see her here today. Has she got a name?
Yes, this is called Brum.
Brum.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Very nice to see Brum here today.
Grandchildren call it Brum.
Well, I think every day we say this is the best day of the rally. And we're just astounded that the next day is even better. We shall never forget the view at the mountain pass of the Himalayas with all the white-topped peaks unfolding in front of our very eyes.
And today is particularly special to be near the Royal Guest House and for this festival, and to celebrate with the locals, all their local traditions, and enjoy the food and the drinks,
and just see all the different clothing that the ladies and the chaps are wearing in the stadium. This is just quite extraordinary, isn't it? These silks. Wonderful. Every one of them is different, and everyone is special, and some of the men's are passed down from father to son. The whole thing is a very moving occasion.
Yes, we're very privileged and we're loving it here.